You know, I just love this talk series. I think it's really important because every single one of us is going to be better off if we can move through life with a sense of real, authentic power. And that authentic power comes from this sense of well-being and this spiritual place within us. So I just love the idea that we're working this entire month to find ways to love, to trust, to heal those parts of ourselves that are a little unskillful and maybe not really working that well for us, so that we can move through life with an empowered heart. And through that, like Glenda said, we create harmony wherever we go. We take responsibility for how we show up. We cooperate with each other rather than compete with each other, so that we share what we have, and this reverence that we show for life is a choice. We choose to do that because we are in alignment with our highest good and know that whatever our highest good is going to benefit everybody else. And so this idea of stepping into this authentic place is so important. So I love Gary Zukav's book. I also used Gary Zukav's book this week. And he says, spiritual growth and authentic power require the courage to set an intention to heal your own fears first, instead of trying to change anybody else. Boy, you know, I really saw how that works this week. Heal yourself. Don't put it on the other person when things are difficult. Find out what it is in yourself, like Linda said. The courage to keep the commitment to yourself to experience and heal all of the frightened parts of your personality instead of indulging them or running from them. The courage to stretch yourself instead of remaining in the fortress of familiar fears. It's so much easier to stay within that narrow boundary. Like Linda said, it's really hard to go the other direction when everybody else is heading this way. So this idea that, you know, we've all got these loving parts of our personalities that show up most of the time. That's the truth. We all know how to care for each other. We all have those moments when we are expressing deep gratitude just for the great gift of precious human birth. We all know how to bring forth this incredible appreciation for life. We all know those places of inner contentment, those places of well-being. And guess what? We don't need a lot of courage for those qualities. Those qualities are so easy, right? We don't need to bring forth this spiritual courage when we're feeling like everything is just perfect, when we're having this sense of balance, equanimity, well-being. We don't need to summon our courage. But I'll tell you what, those qualities that are not part of this fearless aspect of our personality, those qualities like anger and resentment, those qualities like prejudice, yes, like prejudice, like greed, all those things require courage to face, like Glenda said. So I picked this image behind it. Didn't you love the picture of the lion from The Wizard of Oz? This, you know, don't we go around all puffed up wearing our big lion head, trying to look courageous? But inside there's a part of us that isn't feeling all that courageous. But we wear the armor, right? We wear the suit just in case, right? So this idea that we really do need to have a lion-hearted attitude, a true lion-hearted attitude, this brave heart. That's where the courage is. It's not about those leaping off of mountains. Yeah, that takes a certain kind of courage. But that's not the kind of courage we're talking about. We're talking about this risk to be authentic, this risk to face our fears. That's not always easy. Guess what? Sometimes it's easier to stay stuck in stuff that we believe, in ideas that are supporting the easy route, right? It's not easy to face our fears. And I know what? In my life, I love the words in your song because it reminded me of words that I'll quote from Gary Zukav. He says, you said, we need to make peace with the ride. We need to make peace with the ride. Gary Zukav says we need the courage to ride our fears instead of fight them. to ride with them rather than fight them. And you know what? The thing is, in my life, I've had so many opportunities to come face to face with the great mystery of life, and a lot of times when I'm in that place in my life, fear arises. It's filled with the complexity of stuff that takes me out of my sense of well-being. And so it's fundamental to accept that we're going to be experiencing all of it. I love the idea, I got this from Mark Nepo's book too, his book, Facing the Lion, Facing the Lion, whatever the rest of that is. There's an Italian proverb, and this is really what I'm going to talk about. Since the house is on fire, let us warm ourselves. So since stuff's going on anyway, let's just take advantage of whatever that is and make peace with it. Let's ride with it. Let's make it our friend. Let's accept it and work with it. You know, this week, my mom and I went up to Idaho to visit with my sister, who has a lodge up there, Pond's Lodge, which is something that Jan knows about from her childhood, really. And so we went up to the lodge with the picture of the aspen leaves on there. We saw wonderful golden and crimson colored aspen in the forest. It was really quite a lovely trip. But as I was preparing to go on my trip, because I understand this idea of when the house is on fire, we need to learn to warm ourselves. And I'm going on a trip with my family. Okay, well, maybe I need to, could be, like Glenda says, spend a weekend with your family and you can really put your own spiritual practice to test. So I was looking forward to it, but I knew that, there could be some things. So anytime I go anywhere and don't take my big old purse and have to sort of slim down my wallet, I take just a few things with me. One of them is my American Express card. One of them is my cash. One of them is my Social Security Medicare card and my health insurance. And the other is this card that I've carried for 26 years, which is the Serenity Prayer. You see. And those of you who are in any 12-step program can say this, absolutely without even thinking. But the idea that we need to accept the things that we can't change and have courage to face or to change the things that we can. So the courage to face those parts of ourselves that might get in the way of our sense of well-being. To face those things that might get in the way of our showing up as skillfully as we possibly can in the fire of our experience. Does that make sense? So it's always important to me. I carry that with me when I go anywhere. It's always with me. And when I travel, it's one of the few things that I take with me. Because what I know is the first step to any of this stuff, especially this authentic power, is to see what's possible. To be able to see the situation so that when we respond, we're responding from a place of poise and grace and readiness, not from that place of fear. And it's the response from that place that brings this authentic power, and it is also the response from that place that requires great, courageous heart energy. Dropping all the stuff, all the icky stuff that gets in the way, and coming from the heart. And when we can do that, no matter what's going on, we can see that our experience can be exciting, that it can be challenging, that it can be an opportunity for growth, that it is filled with infinite possibilities. That's what we're talking about this whole month. Finding the possibility and the beauty within all of our experience. To bear witness to whatever that is, to face whatever that is, to see where we've been, where we are now, and where we are going. It takes great courage to face our experiences, to see clearly what's around us, what's within us, and what's moving through us. And so when we have this heart courage, it's so easy to come from a place of peace and kindness and love But when we don't have that heart courage, we don't come from that place, we stay stuck in that fearful place. So where does this courage come from? What I know is that it comes from knowing who we really are. It comes from the capacity to know our divinity, to express our divinity. And that's our inner work, to know who we are. And it comes in this capacity to actually face whatever's going on and then be an expression of that divinity within that, facing whatever that looks like. To cultivate this loving kindness in the process, this sense of caring and this gratitude and this appreciation and this contentment within the experience. Those qualities that don't require courage, you see. While we're afraid, we are not going to tap into our courage. And what I know about my life is there's always more opportunity to tap into the thankful aspects and the blessings of an experience or of our life experience in general than to focus on all the stuff that makes us afraid and puts us into that difficult place. But we have to have trust, we have to basic trust, and see ourselves in infinite possibility within that. So what does it take? It takes the willingness to be a risk taker, to put yourself out there, to be undefended, to allow your gracious, generous heart to be the thing that comes first, to allow this burning desire to be love in expression. It takes that, you see. We've got to pray and move our feet. We got to know who we are, and then we have to be able to express that, to see things in a new way, so that we're not always stuck in the old ideas that are holding us back and bringing us into a place of fear. To see things in a new way. We talked about deframing it, putting a whole, opening it up and allowing it to be something new. Rehearse the truth. Rehearse the truth of who we really are until we have the courage to actually live it. I was talking to my mom about some of our experiences this weekend, and it's easy sometimes to act as if. That's, if you're in program, you know what that means. Act as if. To not come from that lashing out, angry place, right? It's easy to act as if. It's much harder to create the new groove, the new neural pathway that allows us to actually, really, 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 really feel it in our heart. And so I love the invitation that Gary Zukov gives us. We just practice. We practice and we practice and we practice, and when we're in fear and it keeps coming up and it keeps raising its head and it keeps getting in our way and we keep seeing it and accepting it and facing it, eventually, with all this practice, at some magic moment, grace will descend and everything will shift. Everything's going to shift. But we've got to be willing to hang in there. I love what he says. Rehearse the truth until we find courage to live it. Rehearse our courage. Rehearse the open heart until we can actually live it. I love that. I love that. And this is what I know. This is what I know for myself. When we're courageous, we're mindful. When we're courageous, we're loving. When we're courageous, we're awake. When we're courageous, we're willing. And usually, it is some sort of an experience, an extreme experience, or one that puts us into a fear place that brings us to the necessity of looking at it and then opening to whatever it has to teach us in the way of an interior blessing. And what I know is we're always in process of becoming. So no matter how much time we spend rehearsing, no matter how courageous we are always going to be given an opportunity to try it again, right? We're always in the process of becoming, this sacred becoming. We don't arrive at this place and stay there. We are constantly invited to the process of courage, to the process of opening the heart, to the process of loving. It's part of our soul's growth. It's part of our journey. And so we have to honor all the stuff that comes to us, all the stuff that has brought us this far, whatever that looks like for us, all the stuff that we've moved through, all the fearful places that we've embraced and accepted, and then to find the blessing and to know the truth about whatever that stuff is, so that we have the courage to bring love to it. So that we know that it's all sacred and that it's all holy. And so today, as you leave here, if nothing else, remember the Italian proverb. No matter what's going on in your life, no matter how difficult things may seem, your life may be humming right along today. If it is, I bless all of that. That's wonderful. Most of us are experiencing something in some arena of our lives. Our finances, our work, our meaningful purpose, our relationships with each other, our health, our finances, whatever it is. Some of us are facing some things in multiple areas of our lives. So I invite you, as you bring forth your courageous heart, to remember this proverb. Since the house is on fire, since it's happening anyway, have the courage to see it. That's the first step. To see it, to be aware of it, to accept it, and then take that as an opportunity to warm yourself within the experience. Thank you for listening. So today, as we've been together, we hope that you've heard something